Okay, I think we can start. Again, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as usual, this is a recorded webinar. If you need to access it later on, you can head over to our YouTube page or over at EnGenius Academy to view archived webinars. If you have any questions, you can just type it on chat or use the Q&A function in Zoom. So today's topic would be focusing on EnGenius Fit. We've launched EnGenius Fit for, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 months now. And it has been the go-to solution if you need something that's very versatile in terms of deployments. So I'll be giving you guys a brief introduction again on what EnGenius Fit is. Maybe some of you are not familiar with it. And I'll be discussing about the new features that we have added to expand its functionality. So just a quick recap, EnGenius currently has two solutions. One is EnGenius Cloud, built for SMEs and enterprise clients. And then we have EnGenius Fit for SMB, can be Soho as well, can be a bit of SME as well, depending on the controller that we're using. So EnGenius Fit, like I mentioned, is more on for small businesses to SMEs, can be for Soho as well, depending on how you are managing it, because we have multiple managing options for EnGenius Fit. EnGenius Fit itself, the full solution is composed of course, you have your indoor and outdoor wireless access points, and then we have our L2 plus PoE switches. And then for the controller options, we have several. The devices can be managed in standalone mode, meaning you can use a browser or a phone to manage the unit from its own interface. You can also use the FitXpress. FitXpress is our cloud-based solution so that you can control multiple devices across different networks. And then if you need customizability, we have the FitController, which is a standalone box. Basically, it's like a plug-and-play device wherein it will automatically detect your EnGenius Fit network devices on the network, and you may manage it from there. So depending on the requirement of the client, if let's say you have clients that have zero IT staff, they want something that can easily be managed without having to really go into configuring the whole setup, something that can easily plug and play, then the Fit solution would be better for them. So I mentioned we have two different options, or three if you include standalone, under EnGenius Fit. So for FitXpress, this is the cloud-based management platform. You can manage up to 30 devices, switches, and APs across an account. Under the FitXpress account, you can have multiple networks. So let's say you have maybe it's a small chain store. You have clients that are that have cafes. Maybe they want to deploy one access point or two per branch. So they can set up multiple networks, configure the access point as they would. You can set up guest portals, you can set up staff logins, you can set up multiple SSIDs, different VLANs. So you can also do that with FitXpress, but we make the function more simplified to make it easier for clients, even without trainings or help from IT staff, or even without having IT staff at all. And then we have FitController, the hardware-based controller, which is customizable, and you can gather more information here in terms of statistics, what's the overall health of your network. With the FitController, the current iteration that we have, what we call FitCon 100, you can manage up to 100 devices there, and you can have over 50 networks. So imagine if you are working with corporate clients, maybe they have multiple floors, multiple departments. So clients can utilize this hardware-based controller to manage those access points. So like I mentioned, we have different hardware options for FitCon and FitXpress, or EnGenius Fit as a whole. We have layer 2 plus PoE switches. We have Wi-Fi 6 indoor and outdoor access points. We are expanding to add entry-level APs as well. Let's say Wi-Fi 5 APs. For clients who doesn't really need, let's say Wi-Fi 6, maybe Wi-Fi 5 is okay for them. The devices that they have on hand are still on Wi-Fi 5, so we're going to be offering that as well. And then for outdoor, we have the Wi-Fi 6 APs. And a lot of clients have been requesting for a gateway as well for EnGenius Fit. So we'll be announcing that soon, maybe around Q3. For our dual WAN FitXpress gateway. So I don't have the full details yet on the features and functions of the gateway that we'll be releasing, but we'll have this soon under FitXpress as well. So essentially, you would be able to manage this either on FitCon or FitXpress, or could be in standalone mode. I have to confirm that as well. So more details will be provided in a future webinar. So going over to the Fit updates, one is a big update for FitXpress. So the EnGenius Fit line, the access points that we have, EWS 357 Fit, EWS 377 Fit, 850 Fit, these all have mesh functionalities. But in the past, you can only configure them either on standalone mode or using the FitCon 100. So we'll be adding the FitXpress option to configure mesh as well on the next update. I think the update has already been pushed by our team, so we're just waiting for Play Store and iOS approval to have it officially available for download. But essentially, you'd be able to configure multiple access points and just link them as you would with EnGenius Cloud to go. So I'll be going over how that would look like. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. So here, initially, if you're going to add a new device, you're going to have an option here in the bottom that says, I want to extend the network over the air. So that means you're linking the access point over wireless through mesh. Just a brief information about mesh. So let's say you have an access point when you need to get data to and from your network, from the gateway, from the router. Of course, you need to have a cable connected to it, to the access point going to the router or access point going to a switch. So with mesh, essentially you don't need to have that physical connection. You can have your access point linked wirelessly to each other, and then from there maybe have one or two APs that are plugged directly on the switch, which would provide data to the mesh AP that you have over wireless. So it simplifies the setup, less cables under deployment, and using FitXpress, it will be a lot easier to set up mesh. So let's say you selected I want to extend the network over the air. You don't need to have the AP plugged in via LAN, and it's going to ask you to scan the QR code or type in the serial number of that new AP that you're adding. So once confirmed, it's going to tell you that the device is registered. Again, confirm whether you want to extend the network over the air using that new AP or just skip it. So if you chose to extend over the air, it's going to give you instructions on what to do. So of course, the AP needs to be powered up for it to be detected by your existing APs. So no need to connect any Ethernet cable to set up your mesh links. So once you confirm that the AP is powered on, it's going to tell you to check the LEDs. So depending on the model that you have added, the image here may change as well. If you're adding the outdoor AP, if you're adding the 357 or 377, you would have a different LED layout here. So once it confirms, this one by the way is animated. I'm sorry, I just can't show you guys that right now. So it's gonna tell you how it would look like to confirm that hey, this access point is currently under wireless connection mode, waiting for your mesh links to be established. So once you confirm the LED, just click on next, and then it's gonna attempt to connect it to your existing APs nearby. So once successful, it would show you a connection established page, and then from there you can basically manage the device wirelessly just over the mesh network. So it's a simple process. Maybe it would take about 2 to 5 minutes depending on whether your device needs to do a firmware upgrade after you have added in. Because on FitXpress, firmware upgrade is also automatic. So when you add it to your network, it's going to check the system. It's going to check the server if there's a new firmware available. If there is, then it's going to update itself. So that's one new thing under FitXpress. So mesh will be added. Hopefully, the new app version will be released within the week, if not next week. Another big thing added, which is under FitCon, is remote access. So let's say you have a FitCon. Maybe you have a group of FitCons that you're managing on different sites. I'm not sure how you guys are accessing that. Maybe you're accessing it over remote management software like AnyDesk or TeamViewer to check it out, to check the client's deployment. Or maybe you have set up static routing, or maybe some of you guys have set up DNS to access the FitController. Through this update, we'll be adding an option for or to access those FitControllers, those FitCon 100s remotely from anywhere, so long as the FitCon have internet access. And the way that you would access them is through the FitXpress web. So essentially from FitXpress web portal, I'm not sure if you guys are aware. So we have this FitXpress app, right? With the same account that you log in on the app, you can actually log on to a browser, to a portal, and access the same information. So that's FitXpress Web. From there, you'd be able to manage the same devices that you have on the app, but through a browser. Maybe for others, it would be more convenient. Maybe you're in front of the PC most of the time, and you would prefer to manage it on a PC as compared to an app on a mobile phone. So at any point in time, you can access FitXpress there. So we'll be adding the option to access those FitCons, those physical hardware fit controllers from FitXpress Web. Let me show you how that goes. Let me just open the link. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my browser. So here I have the FitXpress web portal. You can access it through fit.engenius.ai. So from there, once you have logged in, we have added a new option recently on the bottom part. So usually you would have your device as your access points or your switches, and then you would have your client information, Wi-Fi details, Wi-Fi setup, and so on. So on the bottom part, lower left, we have added FitController. So here under FitXpress, you can add or register your hardware-based Fit boxes, those FitController 100 black boxes. So once you register the serial number here on the cloud, basically you just have to fill it in with your serial number. Once you have added, if the device has remote function enabled, by default it is, and it has internet access, you would be able to manage it from here. So let me access one of these FitCons that have been set up by HQ. So if you see that it's online, basically you just have to click on connect here on the right hand portion. And then from there, it's gonna create a tunnel so that you can access the FitCon 100 remotely. So this is without setting up any DDNS or static routing services. Everything would be taken care of by the system. So no need to set up port forwarding as well if you just want to remote into your FitCon 100. So once it loads up, it's going to show you the login page, and it's going to automatically sign in as usual. So from there, you would have access to your FitCon 100 as if you are accessing it locally. You would be able to access it as usual, modify your settings, modify your SSIDs, check the overall health of your network, check your access points, and so on. So it makes it a lot easier for system integrators or MSPs to manage multiple locations that has EnGenius FitCon 100 set up. So maybe you have deployed FitCon 100 for maybe a small hotel with 50 APs. Let's say this is a branch store or a chain store. Each branch would have one FitCon 100 and a group of APs they're managing. So now it makes it a lot easier for you to access those without having to remote in. So essentially, you just have to add them on your FitXpress account, and then from there you can manage as usual. So everything can be configured as if you are accessing it from a local network. So in terms of managing FitCon 100s under FitXpress, there is no limit on how many you can add. So essentially, if you have, let's say, 100 FitCon 100s that you want to manage under FitXpress, or you want to remote in from FitXpress, you can do so. So remote access can easily be enabled here under this option in the submenu, and this will be available once we release firmware version 1.3.4. So this can be done through an automatic firmware upgrade as well if you currently have FitCon 100s. Okay, so that's managing FitCons remotely from FitXpress, or remote access to FitCon. We have also added another function, this time for FitCon, the one that I just showed you right now. It's FitCon remote management, meaning if you're using a FitController, previously we can only manage local APs. That means APs under the FitController can be accessed or can be managed on the same subnet. So let's say building A, if I have a FitController, I can only manage devices under building A. If I have branch A, I can only manage devices that are on the same VLAN, same network. So through this update, you can now register and manage devices even if they are on a different location. So for example, you have one FitController And then the client have multiple branches, branch A and branch B, maybe 30 APs here about 50 APs and so on. So you can register them as usual under the FitController, and from there remotely access it. So when you access your FitCon, you would see the same information. You would only notice that each of your APs are displaying different WAN IPs depending on where they are located. So it's pretty simple to set up. If you guys are familiar with our old EasyMaster, it's basically the same. So essentially you just have to register the serial number of your FitController, and from there manage your APs as is. I'm not sure if I have that under the demo site to show you. Just a minute, let me just double check. Yeah, I do have it. Just a minute, let me share my screen again. Okay, so under your FitCon 100, if you want to manage remote devices, first you'd have to head over to just a minute. Okay, first you have to head over to System and then Inventory. Under there, you would see a list of the current devices that you're managing. There's a new tab called Fit Register. Basically, you just have to enable this. This would allow you to manage remote devices. So it's going to use a public port which can be configurable. Maybe you are already using 443. You can change it to any other port that you want to use. So once you have that, you can check your connectivity and do a server test if your FitController can communicate to Fit Register. Of course, your FitController would need to have internet access so that it can communicate to our Fit Register server. Fit Register server acts as the database for all devices, which will sync to your FitController. So for example, you have registered X amount of access points. They would be synced over to Fit Register, and Fit Register will try to find where those devices are across the web if they have internet access and route them to your FitController. So on the client side, basically what they need to do is just enable Fit Register. Maybe they would have to port forward a port so that it can find your FitController from the web. And then from there, just go to your inventory devices, register the serial number, and that's it. You would be able to manage those APs individually. So for the access point level, you would see that they would have different WAN IPs depending on where they are located. So right now this sample is showing a LAN IP because this is just locally managed. But if you are managing APs from remote networks, then you would be able to see them. And they would show off with different public IPs. So just a quick recap on the new features that we have added under EnGenius Fit. First is Mesh. And then we have a FitCon remote access, which means you can access your FitCon remotely without having to use port forwarding or DDNS services. And then we also have added FitCon remote management, which allows you to manage remote APs from your FitController. So remote management under FitController is available right now on version 1.2.4, while FitCon remote access, the one that you access from FitXpress, would be available on a later update, hopefully by next week or the week after. So it's going to be available on firmware 1.3.4 or later. But yeah, what's available right now is FitCon remote management. For the mesh setup, that's going to be available once the firmware, once the application have been updated on Google Play Store and Google Play Store and iOS App Store. So, any questions so far? I think there is a couple here. Let me just go through them. Okay, a couple of questions here, both related to comparing EnGenius Fit and EnGenius Cloud. What's the difference between EnGenius Cloud and the FitXpress Cloud? There's actually a lot of difference. Basically, EnGenius FitXpress is built for clients who want simplicity, as well as those clients that doesn't have the IT team to help them set up the full Wi-Fi deployment. So with EnGenius Cloud, it's more of a customizable setup with advanced features depending on what is needed by the client. For example, if you need to do integration, if you need reporting, if you need something that would help you detail what's going on your network, then EnGenius Cloud is built for those clients. But if you have clients that are looking for something that's simple to set up, that they can easily set up without trainings or without having to have a dedicated team, something like the FitXpress can be better for them. It's also going to be easier on their pockets as well. Another question here: is there a sync between Fit products and EnGenius Cloud products? So EnGenius solution, both EnGenius Cloud and EnGenius Fit are totally separate solutions. Basically, for EnGenius Cloud, we focus on ECW models for our access points, ECS switches, and then we have the ESG gateways. While on FitXpress, we have the EWS APs as well as EWS switches as well, and the future gateway model as well. So I don't have the final model name for that gateway, but do stay tuned for that. One question here is about a server. So the Fit Cloud server, is that on AWS or do you have your own cloud? So we are hosting our cloud services on AWS servers so that we can have the reliability, stability, and security from them. But yeah, we are fully managing those instances that we have as well. One question here is about the EasyMaster AP. Can we manage EasyMaster APs in FitCon or FitXpress? This question is a bit tough to answer because we have different models under the EasyMaster. But if you need to, if you can specify what access points you have, you can approach our local sales reps or our country partners to inform them on what models they have and if it's compatible with our current system. So I think under chat there are some questions as well. Let me check. Thank you, Nancy. I think she addressed some of the questions. On FitController, same question here. Can I add non-fit access points? So yeah, please talk to our local sales rep so that he can give you full information on the compatibility. When will Wi-Fi 7 APs be released? We do have plans for Wi-Fi 7 access points. I believe we have more than one model to be released this year, but we don't have the date yet. So hopefully we can inform you guys on a future webinar as well. Okay, one question here. I have a Fit access point configured with different SSIDs, tagged with different VLANs, and in VLAN setting I am able to see VLAN number and name, but in SSID column I am unable to find the SSID. I'm sorry, Prasad, I didn't quite get the question, but you can drop us an email so that we can get the full detail on what's going on. Is there any limit to use a demo site? Feel free to access the demo site so that you can check what functions that we have under FitXpress. Okay, one question here is about the cloud. I have deployed ECS switches and EnGenius Cloud APs. The only way to manage them is on the cloud, which means if my client doesn't have internet, I won't be able to manage them. Is that correct? So yeah, because EnGenius Cloud is built with cloud in mind. So to manage our access points on the cloud, you really need to have internet access. But if internet access goes down or offline, the APs will latch on to the last known configuration. So that means the APs will still function as usual. Clients should be able to still authenticate on the access point and have intranet access even if internet is down. For ECS switches, however, these are hybrid switches. So meaning you can either manage the ECS over the cloud or on standalone mode. So in standalone mode, essentially you don't need the cloud. You just have to access them from the local UI and configure the switches as is. Okay, there's another question here for the cloud as well. So in terms of licensing, is there a way that we can have Wait, let me see if I understood this question correctly. I think the question is in any point in time when using EnGenius Cloud, can I freely switch between basic and pro plan? Yes, you can freely switch between basic and pro depending on what the requirement is of your clients. If your clients need pro features, pro functions, maybe they need to have 1,000 or 10,000 vouchers, then they can freely switch to pro anytime. If they don't need any pro functions, they can just switch back to basic plan without any issues. Is there any limit on how many FitCons that can be managed through the FitXpress web? So there is no limit. So let's say you have multiple FitCon 100s, you can freely add them on your FitXpress. This doesn't add to the count that you have on the access points, because for FitXpress you can add 30 devices maximum in terms of access points and switches. But if you're adding FitCon, it doesn't add to the count. You can add as much FitCons as you want. Okay, another question here is about AirGuard. Are AirGuard features available in the FitController? So as of right now, we don't have AirGuard functionality. Excuse me. As of right now, we don't have AirGuard functionality yet under the FitController. I don't have news if we're gonna bring AirGuard functions to Fit APs, but once we have that information, we'll share that to you as well. Is there any limit to use the demo site? Yeah, there is no limit on using the demo site. We have demo sites for the FitController. We also have a demo site for FitXpress Web, so you can freely access those anytime. Okay, guys, do you have any other questions? By the way, the next webinar is coming on the end of the month. We'll update you on the we'll update you guys on the topic in case we're gonna have to change it. But so far we're sticking to it right now. Can we have the slide? Yeah, I'll be sharing the slide to our sales team so that they can pass it on to you guys as well. So just request it from them later on. Also, the YouTube video will be posted by next week on our EnGenius APAC page. Is there any reporting function for the Fit model? At the moment, we don't have any reporting function yet for Fit, but we are studying whether it's a nice feature to have on board the system, or we should stick with what we have. But with any other updates that we have, we'll be updating you guys as well. Okay, if no further questions, so I think that wraps up our short webinar for today. So I hope you guys can check out our demo site so that you can explore what functions we have under FitCon 100 or the FitXpress. So basically the FitXpress web portal that Nancy shared the credentials earlier is the same as what you would see when you use the FitXpress app. So you get to browse it, you get to configure it, you get to see what options that are there. And you can also compare between different controller options. If your client needs a simple Wi-Fi system, they can also easily choose between FitCon or FitXpress. Oh, by the way, if your clients are currently using FitXpress and later on they want to switch to FitCon, you can freely switch anytime. Basically, you just have to deregister them from your FitXpress apps and register them under your FitCon 100 if you have one. And you can also do it vice versa. If currently they are using FitCon 100 and then later on they want to use FitXpress instead, they can just remove it from the FitCon 100 and register devices under FitXpress. So yeah, thank you guys for today, and you guys have a great week. Bye bye.